Yeah, definitely. It is definitely a good question because there's definitely a decision-making component to that, and it's this fine line as a coach. You want your players to play smart and make good decisions. Obviously, if the average drive starts at 29.5-yard line at the end of the play when it's returned, then the 35 is way better than that. So we'd like to take the touchback if the ball is in there, but you also don't want your guys looking down at the line and all that. So it takes a player who's certainly aware. Our first kick return of the game against Green Bay was a little bit like that. We were like a yard deep, and it's one of those ones you don't want to have hesitation in your players, so you tell them, hey, if you're unsure, you got to go. But if you clearly know you're back in the end zone, then obviously I think everybody in the league saying take the touchback, unless it's a situation in the game like Minnesota Bears last week where obviously you're doing it for clock purposes or whatnot.
To you, maybe a positive and a negative after watching the tape of teams?
Yeah, I would say overall disappointed, really. There's no way around that. Collectively as a team, as a group, individually, my performance, our players, definitely wasn't what we wanted or expected going into the game. I think there's a lot of things that we could all done better, starting with myself. Positives, we had a nice coverage on the kickoff. Leaf had a decent return on one of them, although their net was still good. Their punter did a good job. Negatives, we didn't punt the ball well at all. And we didn't cover it well, but it really starts with the punt. It's hard to cover bad punts. We didn't punt the ball very well, so then it made it difficult to cover. And then, what I always tell players is, or teams, I say the great teams take care of each other. When the offense isn't playing great, the defense steps up. When defense not playing great, maybe the special team steps up and the offense helps out. On any given play, what happens to me is like the punter doesn't play great, but the coverage makes up for it. Or the coverage isn't doing great and the punter ends up helping those guys out. I think great teams take care of each other, and great players take care of each other. Coaches take care of the players. Players take care of the coaches. Or players make coaches look good. Coaches help players look good. It all goes back and forth, and I think that's probably the critical thing with where we're at now is just looking at ourselves and saying, hey, all right, what can I do better? Instead of saying, well, I got put in this spot. I mean, we all got that, and everybody could say that, and we just go around the room, and we'd end up saying, like, well, it's somebody else's problem. And unfortunately, the truth is that's a little bit of our society today. Nobody likes to take accountability and blame. The truth is the only way to move forward is to say, hey, man, I could do much better than that. I know I'm better than that, and I'm going to be a part of the solution and help fix the problem. And as soon as you get a group of guys that say that, you got a chance to really move forward and grow. And then not to make a long answer longer, but I think that really, to me, is the key in this league. I think the great teams get better and better and better and better throughout the course of the year, and they play their best football down the stretch. And these seasons are long, and there's a huge developmental process that goes on during the season. And so I think that's kind of where we're at now.
You guys take that accountability this week?
Oh, yeah, no question. I mean, like I said, starting with me, obviously I didn't do good enough. I mean, I always say to the players, anytime the film doesn't look like you want it to look, I think if you're worth a lick as a coach, then you're saying, hey, man, how can I fix that and help that? That is solely on me. And now the same token, if you're the player, you need to sit there and look at the film and say, man, that's on me, because I knew, where I was supposed to be or how I was supposed to do it, and their guy ended up keeping me from getting that done. I need to be better than him. And I say this league comes down to two things. It comes down, if you got a double team, you got to dominate it. You got a single, you got to win the one-on-ones in this league, in this business. And if you think, well, I'm blocked, you're asking me to be blocked and also make a tackle. Yeah, you got to get off a block and make a play, and that's the National Football League.
I ask you about the accountability element from your end. I'm just curious, when you say you need to be better, is that the play calls within the game? Or are you talking about the game planning and prep? Is it the work that goes in before or the work during the
I would say all the above. I mean, there's so many ways that you could be better as a coach, whether it be how you word something in a meeting that could have a direct influence on what the guy envisions or pictures in his head, or the clips that you use to demonstrate an example of what you're talking about or something you're trying to accomplish or achieve, what image that portrays to that guy. Maybe it portrays one image to one guy and a different one to another, and so you got two guys that are on slightly different pages. Whether that be the drills in practice that we do, and does the drill really show up in the game? Is it a good enough job of simulating it, or did it teach a bad habit or something like that? I mean, it's just endless. And that's the great part of really this game. I mean, that's the thing that keeps you going as a coach, or really makes it fun. Like, if it were easy, I mean, it wouldn't be any fun. But the fact is, this is just the greatest challenge ever. And it truly gives me energy, and why I love coming to work, because I like trying to fix problems and solve things and figure things out and see if we can get answers and make a group better and then better and better. And so really, ultimately, like right now, this is incredible.
There was a pretty consequential kickoff at the Monday night game with the Bears and Vikings. Just the Bears said they wanted to kick it out of bounds. They thought about onside it, and then you see O'Connell telling this guy to run it out of the back of the end zone. Just like, what's the margin of error and stuff like that when you're trying to kick it out? How many things do you have to be prepared for?
Kicking it out of bounds, or
out of the end zone is what they plan to do with
Tua. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to kick the ball out of the back of the end zone. I'll just say that, period. I mean, a year ago, you saw a lot of guys kick touchbacks, and a lot of those didn't go out of the back of the end zone. And then obviously, it depends on who your kicker is. Like, ours probably has a better chance than some to do that. But I mean, ultimately, I think probably what happened is, like, the situation got on them. They thought to do the best thing that they could in the moment. It didn't work out. And that's also what makes this game great, man. You got a lot of after the fact, like, oh, we should have done. The challenge is when you're in those moments, man, it's hard to think of everything. But
hockey back potentially, at least this week. What do you like about him as a return man, and what does he add to your special teams unit?
Yeah, Vaki, I mean, he's just a tremendous talent. I mean, he's super quick, he's explosive, he's powerful. Like, he's really like a lot of those safety running back body types. I mean, that's what you want. You want a guy who's 200 plus pounds, who's very strong, very quick, very physical, athletic, so he can change direction. So he's ends up being a very positive player, both in coverage and return game. So they have a versatile skill set. So that's him. Obviously, him returning the ball, he's got the running back background. And for him, he's unique because he's also got that defensive background, so it helps him in coverage. He played great for us a year ago. So, yeah, we're obviously excited to get him back as soon as we can.
Because we haven't seen it too often. What was Jack's reaction to a game where what didn't go as planned?
Yeah, I think, he's done that sporadically throughout my time here, to be honest with you. I think he's had some games that are not as good as others, for sure. And the one great thing about him is, man, he just can't wait to get to the first practice. Like those 2 days off after the game probably drive him nuts. But he's a very competitive guy. Obviously, he's a great player. And, that happens to a lot of these guys. They have ups and downs. Sometimes when you punt the ball, like I say, sometimes you either want to be really bad or you want to be really good. And what I mean by that is, obviously we take really good, but really bad would be like, man, it was so bad it went 30 yards, bounced on the ground, and rolled for another 20. And nobody in the fans really knew or said much about it because the end result ended up being good. And that happens a lot in this league, more often than people realize. We were just like in between bad, so it was like 45 yards down the field with 4 seconds of hang time right to the returner, and that's like the worst possible thing you could have. So anyway, we kind of had one of those days, and we got to be better, but I got no worries about him bouncing back. Yeah.
There was obviously a negative reaction, obviously, to the performance overall. I mean, do you feel like, based on what you guys have done, you've been here through the whole rise, you deserve the benefit of the doubt to kind of get this thing in order? I mean, like, and the fans.
You know, the very, very best thing about this whole business is it's like totally the opposite of what you think happens in life. You work your tail off, you start moving up the ladder, you get better and better at your job, your profession. Things get easier. You're a teacher and you develop your lesson plan, and then you're like, man, that's it. I got it. It's locked in place. And so as you get older, your job gets easier, and the better you get at it, really, the easier things get. In this business, in this league, it's the total opposite. Everything just gets harder. The better you play, the harder it gets. The better, the more creative you are, the harder it gets. What happens to us is people around the league, their general managers are talking to their head coach, why don't you guys do this more? Why don't you do that more? These guys got players that are tough and gritty. And other players are hearing that. The Detroit Lions, everyone gets sick of that, and it builds up energy, motivation. So you just put a bigger and bigger target on your back, and your job gets harder and harder, and the expectations go up, and it's just tougher to match them. And then they take, the draft order, and they put you last, and so that gets harder, and everything does it. And it's what makes this game great. When you're playing well and you're a good football team, it's just going to get harder. And what you've done in the past means absolutely nothing other than the fact that it just made today harder than yesterday.
Just want to talk about one good play that you guys had that was negated by the penalty on Craig. What's kind of the teaching point when someone jumps off sides and you want to react to get that penalty, but it can't be too late or they'll call it on you?
I guess there's a combination of being too late and then technically he's too far off the ball. So I think the best way or easiest way to look at it would be like if you were the quarterback in shotgun and the guy moved in front of you, as the quarterback, you can't move when he moves. And so the depth of our alignment put him in a position where he's not able to move. Like had he been a wing, like a tight end or a wing on an offensive play and he's a yard off the ball and the guy across from him moved, it would be legal for him to do that. So unfortunately, it was just a weird circumstance and we got hit with it. He was trying to do what really in a lot of ways we teach just from a position that that is not able to respond that way. And that's on me. So, yeah.